Chris,
Heath,
here's a conspiracy theory for you.
hit me with it.
Outer Wilds came out, I think May 18th of 2019.
That sounds correct. Late May, definitely.
Late May, yeah. And then what feels like a week later, Space Force gets announced by the president as being its own military branch. You're familiar with Space Force.
This is back in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like right after Outer Wilds came out.
So it's like we've got the Marines and the Air Force and now the Space Force.
Yeah, you're familiar.
I think so. I think I've seen its logo.
Which I approve of.
Why are you digging up this ancient history?
Well, because you've played Outer Wilds finally.
Yes, this will be the long-awaited Outer Wilds initial impressions episode.
Yeah.
Because I haven't finished it.
I mean, all I have are initial impressions too.
Oh, okay.
Well, because I never beat it.
You finished it via stream, right?
Yeah. I watched somebody else play it because I was terrified by the void of space. Anyway, this is Mobius Tubes.
This certainly is, and this is episode 44 of Mobius Tubes, being recorded on July 14th, 2020.
How you doing, Chris?
I am very well, Heath. How are you?
Status quo, nothing to have existential dread over. I have not played nearly any games this week.
That is acceptable. You've been a very busy boy lately.
Yeah. I neither have I been watching TV shows that are of note.
Gotcha. It's been a media
blackout on this side of the microphones, but you, on the other hand,
I've brought enough to compensate for the dearth of material on your side.
Excellent.
So I think we'd be doing ourselves a big favor if we just hop right in, because there's so much to cover.
Well, I mean, how are you as a person?
I'm doing great. I saw some coworkers for the first time since March today. We had some barbecue and played a little cornhole at a park, open air. It was lovely. And I've got exciting relationship stuff going on in my life.
You can tell me off air.
Yeah.
Unless you want to tell me on air.
Well, let's just say, for the first time since the debut of Mobius Tubes, episode 1, I'm now in a relationship.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And the person with whom you're in a relationship could be listening right now, because you've informed her.
Yeah, she occasionally tunes in.
Oh, no. Ugh. Bailey, who is pre-Mobius Tubes...
Yes.
I try to avoid informing her about the misdeeds that we put on this MP3.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
She saw my misdeeds for herself when we did the 2 rounds of the experience machine debate, and she ultimately said, "You've got the stronger points."
Your girlfriend did?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And of course, yeah. Everyone, yeah. She's a keeper if it falls on that side of the debate.
We'll see.
Wait. We'll see whether or not her opinion changes, or we'll see whether or not she's a keeper.
I'll just leave that ambiguous.
Yay.
But that's enough about me. Let's talk about Disco Elysium.
God damn it. Every time I have something super exciting to talk about, and you're like, so I played Devil May Cry 5 again. What do I have to do to get some of my content? The kind of content that I want to listen to. So Disco Elysium,
yes.
You've surely beaten it.
It is in the record books. I have completed the game.
I don't know if it's in the record books. I mean, it's a good game.
Here, let me stop you right there. So you and we are clearly 2 very different individuals.
I don't know. We got the same hair sometimes. Same muscles at one point.
Yeah, you did teach me everything I know about my muscles.
About physical fitness, yeah.
But suffice to say, we have differing opinions from time to time. And when you were bashing and criticizing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't get it.
I had a hint of truth in each of my...
Oh, yeah. Even I feel a little bit guilty about how much I enjoyed that game. It was definitely like a shameful pursuit.
Yeah.
And then there were other times where, you thought Batman Arkham Knight was the worst in the franchise, and I thought it was the best. And I'm not going to say I agree with you, but I'm going to say I do comprehend your mindset.
It's in the lesser half.
Sure.
Of the series.
Which brings me to Disco Elysium and how I cannot, for the life of me, understand how this game is anything other than a masterpiece in your mind.
Okay, so you're putting that in my frame of reference.
You found this game far less than exceptional.
I found it an enjoyable like they executed on what they tried to do. This sort of, oh my god, I don't want to say multiple personality, but like, ugh. How do you say this in the right way? They executed on just the RPG elements.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fine.
You're saying they executed really well on the gimmick of the multiple facets of your personality all springing to life.
Yes, and the exploration of the history of Revachol and what it means, like the socialists rising up and the fascist shadow cast over everything, and
a very political game.
Yeah, and that I dug. But then I have to go catch invisible animals and
cryptids,
and these kids are trying to have a rave in a church, and this is in the 11th hour, and it's starting to be like, once you figured out the mystery of the haunted
business
chimney
district.
Yeah, the business district. That was as quirky enough as I could tolerate.
Oh, I love the quirkiness.
Maybe I just beat it too soon.
Yeah, you played this game over the course of like a weekend?
3 days.
3 days,
Yeah, I put like 40 hours in over 3 days.
Which is a very different experience than my like 4 or 5 weeks I played this game over.
Okay. But it's a masterpiece.
I think it's a masterpiece.
I give it like a 7.
Wow. This is by far
it's good.
My favorite game that I've played in 2020 so far.
Oh my god. And you played Outer Wilds.
Well, I haven't finished Outer Wilds.
My god.
I wasn't lumping Outer Wilds into that pool just yet.
Okay, so we gotta do everybody a solid, because Disco Elysium is by far one of the least well-known games we've played. It's what game have we talked about that's more esoteric than this?
I'd lump it in the same kind of category as Return of the Obra Dinn, where...
No, everybody loves Lucas
Everyone
Pope.
knows about it?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. This Estonian-developed game has definitely made the headlines last year. Here's what I want to say, Heath. So just, if you've made it this far and don't know, Disco Elysium is the detective computer role-playing game that you play from an isometric perspective, inhabit this fantasy world called Revachol. Not fantastical, maybe, but it's based in reality.
It's fantasy.
Okay. It's quirky, but definitely like analogs to our political systems are being brought up in the discourse in Revachol, and you are a detective there to solve a homicide case, and things get very weird from there. Here's what I want to say, Heath. After finishing Disco Elysium, I don't want this game to merely make ripples in the video game landscape. I want Disco Elysium to make waves. I want it to be super influential. I want people to take the ideas present in this game and run with them.
Yeah, you want spiritual successors up the wazoo.
Yeah, and not even direct successors.
You want like a Game Maker's Toolkit hour-long expose right now.
I've narrowed it down to about 3 things that I think it does exceptionally. These are the things I want other game developers to be inspired from, if they haven't already been already. The first of which is...
the gameplay mechanics?
It's more of a feeling. It genuinely feels like the game is paying close attention to you and your decisions, to like a meticulous degree. It kind of evokes the feeling of being in a physical environment with a flesh and blood human dungeon master conducting the campaign for you because of the nitty-gritty attention to details.
Yeah.
Well, what's an example of what I mean by this? The advantage of having a human DM is that they can like hone in on what you care about as a player and like pick up on they're playing along with
they're tailoring
the fun
the story,
you're having. Yeah, they don't necessarily have a scripted plan for you. They can kind of adapt on the fly. So, the nitty-gritty details that are present in this game. I think last week when I talked about Disco Elysium and that conversation I had with a failed skill check that was referential to a previous failed skill check I have, the fact that the game was tracking that information put a really human touch on it. Also, I actually went back and listened to your conversation about the game. You were having a conversation with a capitalist, and you had the opportunity to slide in a witty comeback, and utterly failed.
Yeah.
You couldn't think of anything. And then the game it didn't just like penalize you for that. It actually managed to further down the line in the same conversation. It elicited sympathy from the person you were talking to. Even though you had failed to land a cool comeback, they felt bad for you. And that resulted in like a positive +1 modifier to a different skill check.
Yeah, because you made a fool of yourself, they were more susceptible to that argument.
Right, yeah. It just seems like thanks to the amount of info this game is seemingly keeping track of under the hood, it can really make it feel like I'm hearing you, player. I'm listening to what's happened to you, and I'm reflecting it back to you in a meaningful way.
So this game has like the depth of an encyclopedia. It literally at some points has an encyclopedia that like says things.
He's part of your mind.
Yeah. And the amicable nature of your best friend telling you a story the only way that they could. Yeah, it's super intimate.
It is intimate. That's a good word. The number 2 thing I want other game developers to be inspired by is that this dense 40-hour RPG literally does not have a combat system in it. And yet, there's 40 hours of very thoughtful gameplay in here.
What episode is this harking back to?
Oh, the non-combat episode?
Yeah.
That's definitely in the 30s somewhere.
We have such a solid bedrock of discussion topics. Kudos to you for presenting me with those, because now it's just constantly like, remember that one time we talked about the thing that's so fundamental it's translated tens of episodes later?
It's paying dividends down the line.
Yeah, because what's another game like this that doesn't have a combat system? That's the quick and dirty way to extend your gameplay time.
Right, yeah. And not only does your RPG not necessarily need to have combat be the primary focus, you could have it not be present whatsoever, like is the case in Disco Elysium. So RPGs, like, they offer the appeal of slipping into someone else's shoes, being another character. Why is it when I get to become this other character, does that other character always need to be a killer? It's a very limited window of like personalities you get to explore.
Yeah, you can either choose two-handed or one-handed swords.
It's just what kind of killer do you want to be?
Yeah.
Well, in Disco Elysium, it feels like what kind of person do you want to be?
Right.
I think that's commendable.
Or it's novel at the very least.
Definitely novel. And in other games where it's possible to be pacifist, like I think you can have a pacifist build in Skyrim.
You can just persuade your way.
The game kind of supports that playthrough, but it's definitely not given the developmental focus, the pacifism in the Elder Scrolls as a more combative one.
Yeah.
So I would like, at the very least, to have other developers more, even if pacifism isn't the default, just flesh it out some more. Make it more like a standard way to play the game.
Imagine if Deathloop got a non-combat pathway.
I mean, it's a hallmark of the Dishonored games, so half of me is almost expecting it to have a pacifist playthrough.
Chris, the point of that game is you have to kill 8 people or you loop back to it, right?
Maybe you can subdue them through other means.
What, like sleepy time for all of them?
No, like...
help, I've fallen and I can't get up?
I don't know, defame them or cause their supporters to no longer
show them the
follow
error of their ways.
Yeah, convert them.
Okay.
Something like that. That was number 2.
Okay.
The final one is the biggest one for me. What I want developers to take away from Disco Elysium.
The music.
Not the music. Although there's a couple tracks I do like in there.
No, that was like... okay, go on.
Heath, I played through this game, and I really didn't feel that pressured to want to min-max my character stats.
Ooh, okay, good point.
I'm an engineer by trade. I love the efficiency of just cranking out the most top-tier character build.
It's a puzzle in its
It's a puzzle in itself. I liked dry European board game design where the theme is irrelevant and you're just trying to be as efficient as possible.
You're just a progression engine.
It lights up the dopamine in my brain like nothing else. However, and that's how I tend to play RPGs. Not to throw Fire Emblem 3 Houses under the bus, but this blank slate of a character you play as Byleth. I've talked about this before, how in the very same room when I'm talking to 2 of my students, I don't have any kind of identity for my character.
Yeah.
I'm just paying each student lip service what they want to hear.
You have no qualms with just
my religious ideologies flip-flop depending on which side of the room I'm standing on.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the biggest mechanical benefit in Fire Emblem Three Houses. That was not the case. I'm thrilled to say it. That was not the case in Disco Elysium. I was more concerned about playing my protagonist as authentically to how I imagined his personality as possible.
Okay, and your personality you fell into, or at least initially, was comrade.
Yeah, I was very for the proletariat.
Okay.
Just turning my nose up at the capitalists I would come across.
We'll get into the spoilers after this breakdown.
Yeah, so I've rarely ever been this fixated on my character's identity before. And I identified 3 ways the game achieved this feeling for me.
Wow, 3 ways within the 3 ways.
The first was skill checks, which is like a probability roll of the dice. And pretty early on, it told me that failing is not inherently worse. To fail a skill check is not always a bad thing. I know for a fact, some cool thoughts that you can develop over the course of the game only become unlocked to you if you critically fail certain roles or certain skill check roles in conversations. Oftentimes, the failure route will be just as entertaining as the success route. And that took a lot of the pressure off. I didn't necessarily care if my empathy was up to a 10 because I'd get just as valid and memorable of an experience failing all my empathy skill checks as I would passing them.
Yeah. It's the product of your decisions.
Yes. Just the fact that this game is full of such fun dialogue options, I was too tempted to go for them, even if I didn't think they were necessarily this dialogue option is going to give me the most optimal roll for getting the desired result. No, I just wanted to say, let's tear down this establishment, people, because that was going to be more fun. And I threw caution to the wind, going for the ridiculous things you can say in this game.
Yeah, your compulsion to min-max was quenched by how witty the dialogue was.
Yes, well said.
So game developers, all you need to do is be amazing writers.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, I guess,
one
of the takeaways.
And then Chris won't be compelled to resource manage his way to the top of the leaderboards.
Also, just the fact that the game in the menus kept track of like how many times did you say the communist statement? How many times did you say the ultra-liberal statement?
I mean, now this might be... We played this several months apart.
Yeah.
For me, it was just on the right side of the screen there, that little...
Yeah, it's not big.
Okay. I didn't really pay attention to that at all.
Okay.
Because I thought, what, is this just... It's like a bean counter for where you fall, but it's not like a heat map. What's the new Devolver game coming out? Wild West?
Weird West?
Weird West. That's like a super... We're talking political compass levels of...
Oh, is it?
Of data visualization.
Okay.
And so you're telling, like, I didn't really pay attention to...
Yeah, I guess this was the most minimal of my reasons. But once I saw I had said 30 communist thing and only said 1 fascist thing, I definitely wasn't going to, I guess I'm not a fascist, so I'm not going to pick those options.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of that kind of thing. But mainly it was getting rid of the fear of failure that got me to play weird with the dialogue options I was picking and just kind of role play my character instead of being in it purely for the mechanics. And those are the takeaways I want developers to pick up on from Disco Elysium and maybe incorporate into their own RPGs.
All right. Shall we get into some of your favorite parts of this game?
In a spoiler kind of section?
In a spoilerific section.
Okay, because... You initially, when you played this game,
despite my criticism, folks, you should not listen to this part of the podcast if you haven't beaten Disco Elysium.
Yeah, please tune out. You look at the timestamps in the description and just skip ahead.
Yeah.
We've got lots of other cool things to talk about. But, okay, Heath.
How many times did you die?
My deaths were very much skewed towards the start of the game.
My first death was trying to reach for the coat, or what is it, a jacket or something?
There's a necktie on like a ceiling fan.
No, I didn't die in my room.
Oh, okay. on a railing. You had to jump for it.
It's north of the bar.
Yes.
It was a morale death, which is, again, it's super funny if you go hit 0 morale. There's basically like a spinning newspaper that's like, local detective turns in the towel and
right. You just kind of quit.
And slumps back to anonymity.
Yeah, I probably died 5 or 6 times, most of those early on.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Before you discovered drugs.
I never took
cross-dressing.
Any drugs.
Ooh, wow.
I was a reformed cop.
Okay.
But you dabbled with the...
I mean, I had to. I was failing disco checks.
Okay. What was the check that roadblocked you? Like most of the way through the game.
I'm pretty sure...
Where you had to like grind for XP in order to pass this check later on.
I feel like that there were many of those.
Many
I feel
of
like
those.
I would fail... Man, where do you want to take this? I interrupted you earlier. You were going to say some of your favorite parts of the game, and then also we were going to say like the titular quest.
Sure. This is kind of a mechanical spoiler, I guess. When you leveled up, would you immediately invest your skill points or would you stockpile them?
I didn't immediately invest them later on once I recognized how valuable to progress past the white checks.
Right. The game really incentivizes you having some like in the chamber ready to go.
There are red skill checks and white skill checks. Red ones you can't repeat. White ones you can repeat upon level up.
Upon leveling up the corresponding skill.
So Heath, 40 hours in, would finally get enough points for a level up and then go back and talk to the far out guys in the tent.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had...
Hardcore!
That's Egghead.
That's spot on, yeah.
I do not like Egghead.
I loved his puzzle.
His puzzle was fun. You know what got me on his puzzle, Heath?
What?
I felt like I spent way too long trying to figure out this puzzle. So upon completing it, I reloaded to do like a crit path, solve it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And either they randomize it or I didn't understand the solution as well as I thought I had, but I got stuck again.
It's a different seed, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Man, this game really needs a Queen Meave speed boost. I'll tell you one thing that got me. I didn't realize that I was the one that crashed the car.
That was a big revelation for me, too.
That's a fun reveal that you're the one that crashes it.
Early on, you see, these tire marks, and this vandal who broke this bridge. Who could have done this? And it was you during your blackout drunk phase.
You start to realize it like 2/3 in. Visual calculus is being like, So lots of fun.
I want to talk about what I consider to be the climax of the game, or the leading up to the climax.
The Mexican standoff.
Right before that, you're looking for the 8th Hardy boy, quote unquote.
Yeah, who is she? Yeah.
Who's a girl. And how easy was it for you to find her? Because she was like I had done everything else and I just couldn't find this girl.
Oh, she was under the
basement.
The boardwalk.
Of the decrepit building.
Yeah.
And did she ambush you or did you ambush her?
No, she ambushes you with the militarized sound wave.
She did that to me, but that does not always happen. If you walk through the basement for the entire duration and never double click to run, you can get the jump on her.
No way.
She hears you running. And Kim Kitsurugi, he's like cautioning you, hey man, we should go slowly and quiet here.
No way.
And I picked up on that. And I was like, oh yeah, of course I need to walk slowly here. And then just my muscle memory, man. I did a double click and I was done for. When I got to the penalty, which she ambushes you with her homemade radio device, which is made for like penetrating the pale. The pale's a cool concept in this game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So you are in auditory agony along with Kim Kitsurugi, constantly taking health damage as this conversation progresses.
The ambush doesn't trigger unless you double click to run.
Yes.
At that moment, it triggers.
At that moment, once you meet her, she'll have the edge.
Wow. Yeah, and so her as a character, because she was super friends with Klaj.
She had a crush on her.
Okay.
Which was unrequited.
Right, because she was doing the PMC.
The what?
I don't know. I'm saying.
Okay.
The military PM. What does PMC stand for? It's like paramilitary complex. Nope. I just said a random acronym.
If I hadn't called you on that, we could have just kept rolling.
You would have been like, yes, a PMC. No, okay, so unrequited love, and so that the
Can we
eighth
look
Hardy
up the
boy,
name of these two characters?
It's Klaj and like
It's like
Lisa.
Rosie. It starts with an R, I'm pretty sure. It's Ruby. Her name is Ruby, the instigator.
Oh, you're right.
Also, can we double check you can actually ambush her? Because I don't actually know if that's true.
Well, that I liked it so much.
I'm pretty sure it's true, but I haven't actually seen like a video of it.
Rudy.
Oh, is it not possible?
I mean, I'd be really curious to see how it works if you got the jump on her. And no one could really fault you if you made that up, Chris, because this game is like the most esoteric thing we've ever done. Here's the thing. You can explore freely, but going deeper into the northeastern tunnels will force a confrontation with Ruby the Instigator.
Is it the case that my headcanon was much cooler than the reality?
Maybe.
I felt like Kim was making such a big deal about it that it had to be.
Let's just...
Maybe she does actually have to ambush you. All right, Disco Elysium's like a 0 out of 10 game. Don't bother.
Next, Outer Wilds.
What was the resolution with Ruby for you? Did she...
She escapes.
Oh.
Yeah.
My character passed
Did
the
you
really
shoot
hard...
her?
I passed the really hard skill check to topple her machine generator.
Uh-huh.
And then failed my very high percent rhetoric check to talk her down because she ended up killing herself for me.
Why?
She committed suicide.
Why? She's like, oh, you broke my AM radio?
She thought you were like the hitman to this mobster.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you remember this.
And now she's like, you broke my laser ray. I guess you have the upper hand?
She thought there was no way she was going to leave the situation not in a body bag.
Oh,
because
and then there was
your...
a super difficult rhetoric check to be like, nah, don't worry, I'm good though.
Yeah, so
what?
I think the three options are she escapes, she commits suicide, or she leaves in your custody.
Oh.
So for me, she did kill herself, which was a real bummer because my rhetoric was super high.
And that death foreshadowed the many deaths that would come.
Yeah, so in the main town square showdown,
the Union people are out in the front square.
On one side.
Immediately, like, what is going on?
Yes. And on the other side are the
Three
mercenary
assassin types.
Contract killers outfitted in like full body armor.
It's the big strike breaker. Or no, not strike breaker. It's striker.
No, he was a scab.
Yeah, that's
he
what
was
I
the
meant.
head of the scabs.
Right? No, scabs are bad.
Scabs try to take the jobs of people who are striking.
He's the guy that's saying right to work.
Yeah.
So he's not a scab. He hates scabs.
He is a scab. He's demanding, I'm here to work, let me work.
No, he's saying, what? No.
Yeah, because he's not part of the union.
No, he's leading the protest.
The protesters are scabs.
No, they're like the people protesting.
Check this.
Bruh. They're the union people that are protesting.
The union people aren't going to protest the union.
Disco. No.
It is that guy.
No, he's a scab.
That collection of people are scabs.
So they're protesting the union.
They're saying, they want to take the place of the union workers who are on strike.
Oh, duh. Yeah. All right. And they were hired by the capitalist lady?
They were, but they kind of went rogue. And
once
now,
they figured out, yeah.
Once the homicide, which is the scab leader's brother, was the homicide victim.
Yep.
They're going to enact their own vigilante justice against the union workers, the Hardy Boys. And you and Kim come between them and try to mitigate the situation. How did that go for you?
I passed a skill check in which I shoved with somebody. No, I got a shot off on the drunk mercenary.
Oh, okay.
And
so you took a shot.
And I distracted. No, I dodged or something.
Dodged. Okay.
It was pretty much unscathed, and Kim was able to get a shot off too.
Gotcha.
I afforded him the opportunity.
I went through like every dialogue option except for taking the shot, which was a slam dunk if I did it, because I had a bunch of positive modifiers from like throwing them off base with some information I brought to light. I also had high hand-eye coordination. So I could have taken this guy out easy peasy. I opted to take the pacifist route, however, did not shoot. They opened fire first. Kim manages to take one of them out. Good on him. I do a dodge, then I get hit. I'm down. I'm down on the ground. Kim comes to help me back up. A guy comes up behind Kim. I have a chance for an authority check to get Kim to turn around. My authority is like -1.
Why would that be authority?
I'm not sure, but I guess just like you're kind of delirious, so Kim might not be listening to you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I bomb that authority
Yeah, you're
check.
basically like, Kim, look out.
Kim gets blat.
Oh my God.
I was beside myself.
Does this portrait go away?
Yeah.
Wow.
You wake up a couple days later. Kuno's in your room with you. He informs you Kim Kitsurugi has passed away. Then he says, psych, he's actually in critical condition at the hospital.
Oh my God, Kuno's the worst.
So I went from my party consisting of Kim Kitsurugi, my favorite character in the game, is replaced with Kuno, my least favorite character in the game.
That's the game punishing
I
you.
was so upset.
Wait, does Kuno actually tag along now?
He now accompanies you for the rest of the epilogue.
Laughable.
And it provides
Oh my God.
all of his insights for the rest of your game. Although he's now not high. This 12-year-old has come down off of his drug high, and he's slightly more
Because you
sane.
leveled with him?
No, just because it's a couple days later. So
Wait, you're walking through the revelation of who killed this guy.
yes,
Klaj's lover.
brother.
No, the
Oh yeah, Claudia's
they were
lover.
yeah, and Kuno is like, "Oi, what did this bitch with?" And the soon to be dead former war hero for the bad guys, or who is the main antagonist?
So let's get to the final epilogue of the game.
You
go
sail
to
in
the
your
island.
boat. This woman's like, I'll let you borrow your boat. And Kuno's like, bitch, man, give us a boat.
Actually, he just found his own way to the island.
Kuno doesn't care.
That was a good impression.
I'm going to swim because I'm so strong.
He's insufferable. It was the ultimate punishment.
Yeah.
So you arrive at this island with this old sniper. Let's talk about him, because he's kind of a deus ex machina.
He's so weird.
So he's on this island. He's a leftover from the communist uprising 45 years ago.
Okay.
He kind of abandoned his post, but then survived the bombing of Revachol and basically decided he was going to refuse to surrender. So he's been camping out on this island for 4 decades. Occasionally,
That's insane.
Subsisting on like fish. And he's a sniper. I don't know if you figured this out.
He mans this pillbox.
He hates capitalists and their lapdogs. So, and he also is weirdly misogynistic. So when he sees the mercenary and Klaj
in courtship
coupled in relations
in one evening,
he lights
takes
the guy
shot,
up,
yeah,
and kills him.
And it was just a
And
super intimate commentary of the socio-political. There's like, I feel like this game needs a book series more than The Witcher.
It's getting a TV show.
I was gonna do this.
One thing I really did like about this, Heath, was very early on when you're inspecting the body. I don't know if you ever saw this check. There's an Inland Empire check, which is kind of like your gut feeling.
Yeah, which we failed all of those.
And I actually got it to like...
What?
No, I think it failed. But it told when I said, hey, Inland Empire, I was talking to the corpse of the hanged man.
Yeah, your imagination was communicating with the dead body.
Yeah, I was like, what killed you?
Who killed you? Who shot you?
And then Inland Empire says, communism killed me.
Oh my God.
And
that's true.
And it's in a way it's true. This leftover from the communist uprising did kill him.
30 hours later.
The most out there piece of evidence you have.
I thought it was a meme.
I thought it was a meme too.
Yo.
But at the end of the day, your gut was more right than every piece of evidence you collected over the course of the entire game.
Astonishing.
And I really liked that fact. Because this guy, he's a total like out. You had no idea. You've never met this character
His
before.
dialogue is like 20 minutes total.
Yes, it's lengthy.
Because you're just trying to fill in and eke out the details.
Trying to get a confession out of him, which isn't even that hard. He's like pretty willing to admit to it.
Yeah, he's basically like, I lined up in the 30 degrees east. Yeah. And Kuno's there.
And Kuno's there.
Does Kuno, man, Kuno needs, again, you need to play Fallout 4. You know how the radio announcer, once you complete his quest line, is like, I changed my life. Kuno needs to come back with Matthew McConaughey levels of, it's a bittersweet memory.
Yeah. Okay.
So, after the confession is got,
did you find out he also had another victim he sniped? It was the previous union boss before Everett Claire, which was a woman. He took her out because the twins, Everett Claire and his brother, they found this guy and convinced him to off her.
Oh.
I got that out of him.
Okay, but why wouldn't he side with her? She's a fellow socialist.
Yeah, but I mean, this guy's as corrupt as they come. He wanted the power for himself.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what were you saying?
Basically, you kill the sniper with your words. Right, but before that happens, a giant praying mantis appears in your periphery.
This cryptid.
Yes.
Which looks like reeds, like water reeds, and it's giant. It's like towering over you.
It's a follow-up to the seemingly inconsequential side quest of Lena?
Her husband.
I know, but anyway, her husband. Hey, this is Chris in Post with a quick correction. Heath and I actually meant to say cryptozoologist, not cryptologist.
The cryptologist.
The cryptologist who is so gung-ho about these Bigfoot style animals.
Right.
And you got to go check these traps.
It's like a pseudoscience kind of.
Yeah. And boy, did that quest feel so weighty for something just totally innocuous. And I'm talking to like a fascist. His name is like Kevin the Fascist. And I'm like, why do I got to bother talking to you? But apparently, yeah, at the end of the game, had we not done that side quest, would there have been a giant cryptid?
I suspect so, but I bet we'd be really confused.
You'd be like, what? Yeah.
Did you take a picture of it?
No, I tried to approach it, and it ran away.
Oh, okay. Did you?
I wasn't going to take a photo. The photo would have come out blurry or whatever.
Apparently, Kim Kitsurugi has a camera on him, while Kuno does not.
Oh.
So I did not get a picture of it. Oh. Did it talk to you?
No.
Okay.
What would it have said? Maybe it jogged my memory.
It did not talk to me either.
Okay.
It sounds like we both had very
low Inland Empire
disappointing conversations with this thing. Yeah. What did you take that to mean?
It's Fantasyland.
Fantasyland?
You know, this whole game is like brutal, ideological, political commentary, but also sprinklings of the bookstore is haunted. This is business. There's a creepy crawly man in our church. Let's dance the spirits away.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it made it quirky. And we like quirky here.
We do like quirky here. Yeah, it definitely seemed a little out of nowhere.
And then what? Your police comrades are like, what did you find on that island? And you had the options of saying, a broken man, big praying mantis.
It's cool
or
that
just
like,
remaining stoic.
The final encounter of the game is kind of like justifying your actions to your former partners and people who were like your subordinates.
Justifying your actions to your former partners.
Yeah, because they're like asking you, hey.
Oh, the cops. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Those former partners.
Those
Sorry, I was thinking
partners.
like, was it before Kitsuri? What?
Yeah.
So anyway, the cops.
They were from your precinct.
Okay.
They were under your command, actually.
Before you fall from grace.
Fell off a cliff. And then you kind of like, oh, I haven't been just wasting time the past few days. I actually conducted an investigation. And you can like present side things you completed and try to like convince them that you're not a waste of a human being. What did you think of Dolores Day?
The heavenly mother of this
spiritual figure,
the local religion,
who can come to you in a dream as your former lover.
I didn't really. Oh no, it totally did happen.
Yeah, it totally did happen.
Yeah, all the time.
Did you win her back in your dream?
When
Heath?
did that first happen? Didn't I like look through some pants in a dumpster?
You find your clipboard,
Sure. Yeah.
and
then
it has
within
a
the
secret
clipboard
compartment in it,
is like a note or what?
and it has an old love letter in it.
Yeah.
From her.
I died there
and
too.
you black out from that.
Yeah.
And then I took a nap on the final island place, and that's where I had this dream
I did that dream.
where I confront Dolores Day, who is a stand-in
For your
for
lover.
your wife. Was she?
Yeah, gotta be your wife. Yeah.
I think your partner says you two weren't even married. So then it comes to light that you've been like hung up on this woman for 6 years, and you're still kind of like a train wreck of a human being because of it.
Couldn't you flirt with the boat owner?
You could ask the boat owner out on a date. I do not have the empathy for that.
Yeah, there were certain characters on what I'll call just West Revachol. Like once you cross the bridge,
Uh-huh.
and like those 3 hobos. I was mashing through some dialogue at times.
Oh, okay.
Talking to those hobos.
Talking about Egghead. Oh, no, the hobos.
The hobos.
The hobos have some good stories, but only if you give them beer.
Yes. A tried and true mechanic.
Yes.
True to life. Okay, so let's talk about the titular thing, and then we'll maybe wrap it up or
the
something.
Disco Elysium quest.
Yes. So these punk rockers are on the ice,
Yes.
and they are trying to start like a pop music
It's
wave.
not even pop music. It's like experimental electronic music.
Alternative. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want to use the acoustics in the church, but this lame, or no, is the scientist in there or not?
There's
yet?
a programmer in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's also a creepy Spider-Man.
There is. Who's just up in the rafters.
And you go in there and you find out he's not a creepy Spider-Man. He's a
little,
nice.
He's a little creepy.
He's a little creepy, but for the most part, he's a nice Hispanic man.
Hispanic? He's shrouded in. Oh, yeah, he does speak Spanish.
There you go. Yeah. And he's just like, hey, I want to be in here with the Heavenly Mother. And then you're like, okay, cool. I'm not going to kick you out. You didn't kick him out, did you?
No.
No, he's good. Yeah. What was his name?
I don't
I think
remember.
it was like Raphael or something.
Maybe.
The programmer, I failed a bunch of her skill checks.
Oh.
Where she's basically like, there's an entity in here somewhere. And you stand in the middle of the church. I had a hard time finding it. It's just this like centermost point. It's an emitter of
Nothing.
silence.
Yes. It's like a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Did you discover what that ended up being?
Yes, I did. I forget.
Okay.
Was it the product of the bombing?
No, it is. So you know what the Pale is, right?
Yeah, it's like a green.
So in this world of Revachol, there's multiple islands. In between the islands, there's something called the Pale, which is like this very hazardous nothingness. It's recommended you don't spend more than like 2 days in the Pale per year. Joyce, the capitalist, she's like been trained to like endure up to 16 days in the Pale per year. And the Pale, it'll drive you insane if you're in it for too long. And it turns out that centermost point of the church that is nothing
Is the origin.
It's the origin of like a new breeding ground of Pale emerging to consume the city.
Okay.
Slowly.
And the programmer is there in an effort to stop it.
She was just there to like figure out
Or
what it
just
was in
research
the
it,
first
yeah.
place.
And you kill the Pale
I did not kill
through the
Pale.
power of music. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, you do blast music. I don't know if that does anything.
That's what I will call. I mean, it's the titular quest, but
Yeah.
I think of it as like the climax of the game.
So these experimental music kids, they also want to set up a drug shop in there.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Did you not find that out?
Yeah. What's the drug of choice in this game?
Oh, I forget.
I know this, like the slurp kind was available at one point.
I decided
anyway.
once you find out, they're like one guy is standing on like a tub of distilled water, and you're like, "Hey, what's that for?" And once you find out they have drug plans in mind,
It's a front for their.
you can book them, put them in cuffs, and take them away.
Right.
I decided, hey, you can do your music nightclub, but you can't do the drug part.
Right.
And they were cool with that.
Yeah.
Is that also what you did?
Yeah.
Cool.
So they set up their DJ tables,
Yeah.
and you have to pass some difficult skill checks, some of the most difficult in the game. And the music starts ramping up more and more, and that's where I was just so on board. Despite, like I said, Most of that westerly part of the game, it was a barren wasteland.
Oh.
A highlight is the car that you crashed and a bench you can sleep under, right? Like there's a new place you can sleep. I'm like, wow.
Did you not get offered the residential house from the old lady in the fishing town?
Yeah, I did that.
She'll give you a house.
Uh-huh.
In the house, you can shave if you want to.
I did shave.
You shaved.
Yeah, I did.
I decided that didn't fit me, so I did not shave.
Because
Believe me, I had the hand-eye coordination to do it. I just didn't want to.
I take your word for it. What about the weird thing about how like that room is the only place you can't be watched?
Oh.
I feel like it was leading up to Ruby.
Because Ruby had stayed there before you.
No, wait, no, like yes. And I feel like Everett's always watching you.
Oh.
But yeah, somebody said that.
His prying eyes couldn't reach you in this abandoned house?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that had story significance. How much did you bother the people with the payphone?
The people with the payphone.
Remember calling the payphone that's like just toward the end of the boardwalk?
I called it once and then said, this is kind of a waste of time.
I exhausted that. That was
did?
fun. It was a lot of fun. There's some funny people you can call and just,
Dang.
do whatever you want. There was a dead guy at the end of the dock kind of thing.
Yes. Did you take that case?
Yeah.
And did you...
It was like a special optional case.
Did you track down his spouse?
Yeah.
And then delivered the news?
Yeah.
That was a touching moment.
It was like, yeah. So this game, okay, folks who are still listening who are wondering if they should play this game. Yeah, it's not a masterpiece. It's not a masterpiece.
To which I would give a resounding yes that you need to play this game. It's one of the most unique RPGs ever made.
Wow. Yes. It's a unique, yes. It's holistically a breath of fresh air.
But not one you particularly cared for.
But, I mean, clearly I'm having so much to talk about. What about like the most Western part where you can like examine a mural and find like the firing squad ghosts?
So we had high visual calculus. So we saw the ghosts.
Yeah. That was pretty interesting.
It was. There was a YouTube video I watched where they inspected this mural. They had crappy visual calculus.
So they failed it.
They were just looking at the bullet holes. Kim Kitsurugi gives you a nod. You nod back. He nods. Then there's the option. You can continue nodding. And you can get into a nodding arms race with Kim. And to the point where eventually you start taking health damage.
Oh my God.
And you can die.
Neck.
You can nod yourself to death.
Oh, the weight of my head.
Your
endurance talks to you. He's like, buddy, you can't take another nod.
Your neck snaps.
That's amazing. Wait, does it do all the health damage immediately?
I don't know the specifics, but you can die.
I wish it was a one-hit KO.
So that's the type of game this is.
That's amazing.
You can nod yourself to death.
We didn't even talk about racism.
You're right.
I failed that for the most part.
You failed to be a racist?
Yes.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
We're talking about like Measurehead here.
Yes. So Measurehead, you can listen to his breakdown of all the ethnicities in order, like ranked order.
Oh, he gives you like an ethnicity tier list?
Yeah. And then you can like achieve his blessing through like a quiz.
Okay.
You didn't do this? Did you punch him?
I talked to Measurehead a little bit, said this guy's kind of whack, and left.
Okay. I felt like he was the centermost obstacle of the early game.
Did you say he does a mini game with you? Is that the quiz?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to
What's this
pass
quiz
his prejudice thing where he's asking you, what is the role of this certain ethnicity? And you're like, to be subservient. And he's like, very good. I taught you well, basically. Yeah, did you not get the Thought Cabinet Advanced Racial Theory?
I did not, no.
Okay, I did.
Was it a cool one?
The Thought Cabinet.
Yeah.
You tell me, did you write any more down? Because we really ought to like rattle off some of our
I want to talk about the homosexual underground.
Oh,
Did you hop aboard the homosexual underground, Heath?
I did not.
Okay.
I was too cowardly.
Amazing.
What?
So you're the detective, Harry. You can name him different things.
Okay, you can? Oh, that's right.
You can. There's like a whole thought cabinet where your name is like Detective Cousteau.
Right.
And you think you're Detective Cousteau.
Okay.
But he's Harry.
Harry Dubois.
He's enchanted by this like suave, mysterious smoker man on a balcony.
And
he's like,
he has a friend at one point. That's
he does.
so weird.
He's a moralist, like bureaucrat, politician from
Yeah.
a different island.
I was thrown off by that meeting.
I'm pretty sure they were meeting to like hook up.
Yeah, I know, but like his involvement first and foremost was like, who? You saw everything? Okay.
So after you've interacted with this suave young man, Harry he's like, what is it about this guy?
Yeah.
And you get the option to think about the homosexual underground. And it's a beefy one. It's like 8 hours long in game.
Yeah. It's so, oh my God, yeah.
And I complete it. There's 0 effects. It just says you are no longer obsessed about thinking about sexuality all the time. That is the payoff.
Oh, how frustrating.
For the homosexual underground. But there is one thing it did do. On a future conversation I had with Kim Kitsurugi, there's a new dialogue option that appears. You can tell Kim, guess what? I've stopped being obsessed with other people's sexuality. And he says, that's great. And then you can't help yourself. There's an option. You whisper to Kim, hey, are you part of the homosexual underground? And Kim then says, I'm going to save you another 8-hour thought project. Yes, I am. And then it just ends.
Cool.
And then that's like the only part that comes up.
How tasteful.
Yeah, it's super understated. But yeah, apparently Kim Kitsurugi is gay.
Cool. Okay. That's like for Harry to be like, what is it about these homosexuals? It's very Michael Scott. It's very, you know the filmmaker Werner Herzog?
I do not.
Do you know the filmmaker Jonathan Waters?
No.
Okay, so these are like two very old guys that made like films in the 70s and 80s. And Werner Herzog speaks with this very German accent. And Jonathan Waters was closeted for decades.
Okay.
And so there's like this recent interview clip in which Werner is just talking probably during a Q&A. Werner he's so like stoic and not perceptive and stuff. Apparently after some gala or award ceremony in which like they attended with Jonathan Waters, apparently Werner turns to his wife afterwards and he's like, I think Jonathan is gay. And then it's like, no shit. Harry is the same way toward this mysterious, the suave gay man on the balcony, the smoking man on the balcony. Yeah, this game. Okay, so let's wrap it up now. Did we talk about everything? We didn't even talk about the millionaire and the shipping container. We didn't even talk about like, oh man, I wish you could zoom out more.
Okay.
Like the vignetting was.
There's
the
actually
presentation of this game frustrates me so.
There was one thought I came across that has a passive ability where you can zoom out the screen 20% more.
I did that. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I absolutely had that in my thought cabinet.
Cool.
Just because I needed to like double click on the fringes.
What was your favorite thought?
The compressor.
What does the compressor do?
You didn't have the compressor. You get the volumetric compressor.
What does this do?
When you go to the hanging man behind the bar and you have to like stomach the vial, the putrid.
It's an endurance check.
I failed that endurance check. And it's like, and your endurance is like, man, you got to get your shit together. Enter the volumetric compressor.
Oh, man.
I'm going to read this verbatim. Problem. Your shit is apart, and it's rather unbecoming of a cop or human being. It's supposed to be the opposite of that. Together, compressed in a small area. To achieve a solid level of shit compression, squeeze your butt cheeks together for 30 minutes. Do something similar with the two hemispheres of your brain. Talk to people. Maybe that will help. So after you fail this endurance check from not being able to stomach the dead body, you can research this, and it'll be +1 endurance. And this, it says, bizarre scientific news where a police officer's has been observed and the pressure around these metallic hydrogen levels of togetherness were thought to only exist at the center of collapsing stars. Like, amazing writing, people. This game, the reason it's a 7 is because it's a 10, like in Chris's mind, that has been brought down by almost distracting levels of quirk and quality of life features that just aren't there because it's not a AAA game. It's one of the most single A ever indies. The moral of the story is developers should look to this as a gold standard pariah of video game development and just take it into the sunset. Because didn't we say, like, it would be amazing if you could have compelling dialogue-driven storytelling, and this was like 40 hours or whatever. Yeah, this was so innovative, and much in the way that, like, the first car ever wasn't a cushy, dependable vehicle. This is as innovative as the first automobile, but I'm not going to find any cup holders in it. I'm lacking that level of comfort. So that's where we differ.
Gotcha.
Let's end it there because that was so eloquent.
That was great. Yeah, let's end it there. That was an excellent conversation. Heath.
Yay!
All right, so we can go to the other extreme and talk.
That was an hour.
That was an hour.
Amazing.
So, Outer Wilds.
Yes, another hour. 2 hours. Okay, Chris, I want to know the menu. How are you enjoying the menu? There's so much to enjoy about this game. Folks, this is the space game that was my favorite game of 2019.
Right. And to talk about, I imagine hearing the pitch for this game is incredible. What an awesome premise. And this isn't going to be a twist where I say, oh, a great premise and a flawed execution. No, I think it's great all around.
You can already tell, even though you're like just barely testing the waters.
Yes, I'm about
and there are some waters.
I'm 6 hours in, so I'm definitely still in the preliminary phase. The pitch of this game is you have an entire solar system to explore with multiple very different planets, and you can land anywhere on these planets. And there's this whole solar system spanning mystery to solve that at first you're not even sure what the nature of this mystery is. You're just told I think you're a species of alien called a Hearthian in your little village, and it's the first day you are taking to outer space in your spaceship. You're like a new green astronaut, and
so I'm sorry, you're a blue astronaut, but
right.
You meant green as in like
a recruit.
Yeah, spring chicken.
Yeah. Good clarification.
You're blue.
So you get the launch codes, and you're off. Oh, and there's also, I love this, in your little hometown, there's a museum, which has like museum displays that are like a preview of all the game's weird mechanics and things you're going to find, like some anti-gravity stuff and some quantum mechanics stuff. And it's all in the museum, kind of like signposting to you, oh, this is what's going to come down the road. And then you go to the spaceship and you take off, and then it's up to you. You can go anywhere you want. I went to the moon first. I felt like baby's first steps.
I felt that you would do things in a logical order,
because I heard you introduced this game to your brother.
Try to funnel your gameplay, yeah.
And he gunned for the sun right away. Was that correct?
Yes.
So I started small. The moon is close by, and yeah. So
he went to the sun first, and then he went to the outermost.
I see. So I had a pretty fun time on the moon. Went in this underground thing. Saw some weird text on walls. I used a translator to read, and then this is a spoiler for, I guess, the first 30 minutes of the game, which quickly becomes part of the game's premise. The sun goes supernova, Heath, and you die, and then you wake up at the beginning of the game again. So very quickly it's established you're in a time loop, a la Groundhog Day. And yeah, what genre would you place this game in? Because on the one hand, it feels a little walking simulator-y to me, that first-person perspective. You've got a slow walking speed. A lot of what you're doing is searching planets for like new text documents that'll have clues and things on them, kind of like walking around the house of Gone Home looking for text documents. So it feels walking simulator-y in that respect. It also feels roguelike-ish because you're on that resetting loop every time. But the persistent element, instead of in Rogue Legacy, where you're slowly upgrading stats between each runs, the persistent element in Outer Wilds.
You're upgrading knowledge.
Your knowledge, what you know about how the solar system works, because there are cool shortcuts and phenomena you can exploit to get to places that previously were inaccessible. And yeah, you're just learning more and more about how this particular solar system works and the quirks it has. And boy, are some of these planets quirky. And I'm not going to spoil them, but each one definitely has a really unique gimmick to it. And I like that so much. The game seems pretty well researched in terms of like some of the puzzles you're solving deal directly with astrophysics and quantum mechanics. So like pretty heady stuff. Not that it's being portrayed in like this very obtuse manner. It's like boiled down to like video game basics. But thematically, it's really cool, especially for a space exploration game. And you said something earlier this episode that resonated with me, Heath. You said you put the game down because it was like getting to you on like an existential dread level. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a horror game, but I'm scared playing it. Just your tiny little cobbled together spacecraft feels like the tiniest of safe spaces in the entire solar system as you're just flying through the dark vacuum of space, just peering out your tiny window.
You need to make that giant leap.
Yeah. And you're landing on these like...
For blue kind.
For blue kind. There are other astronauts out there that you can meet and talk to.
Okay, so yes, you met the guy on the moon who's whistling.
The guy on the moon who's whistling. Yeah, I did meet him.
Yeah, and then you met Gabbro.
Yes, he is on Giant's Deep.
Talk about Giant's Deep.
Light spoilers for this one planet.
Do you want to save like all your spoilers for next episode?
Sure. I mean, all the planets are so cool. I want people to preserve that specialness when they land on them for the first time. But suffice to say, I don't know where this big puzzle is going. I'm assuming I haven't even hit like the big twist, mind-blowing parts yet. It's just kind of been exploring a cool solar system.
Whatever you do, don't cheat.
Okay, I'm gonna try to hold myself to that.
Don't do like any guides.
To the game's credit, that you mentioned menus. The game does a great job cataloging the things you've discovered so far in a menu. It has like a text-based version, and
You're
you can
talking about the ship's log.
The ship's log, yep, on your spacecraft. You can flip between a purely text-based graph version and also like a planetary diagram.
Yeah.
So that's cool, depending on which like learning style.
And there will be asterisks that say like there is more to explore here.
Yeah, and that's super handy because now I know where I need to backtrack to. And I like that on every run I've done, I found something at very least. So that sense of progress is there. I don't feel like I've hit a roadblock, but maybe that's just because I'm only 6 hours in. If I have any criticisms, Heath.
This is Outer Wilds we're talking about.
If I have any criticisms, the time loop you're on, which is like 25 to 30 minutes.
22 minutes, exactly.
It's 22 minutes? Okay. It feels so final whether it's you die from asphyxiation because you ran out of oxygen.
Or you exit your ship without wearing your suit.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Also, I've just been... This is the most existential it's been. I've drifted a little too far away from my ship and could not recover. And it was just me floating in space for the remainder of the duration.
That's why I told... Well, then you got to like expend your propellant.
Right, because once you run out of fuel, you start consuming oxygen so you can commit suicide.
Which is not much better. But that's why I told you to talk to Gabbro.
Oh, he has info about that.
I'm just gonna... Yeah, I'll spoil this because it's like a quality of life feature.
Sure, okay.
At some point, you talk to him and he teaches you meditation, which is like you'll pause the game and it'll be like meditate until next loop.
Oh.
You press that button and then you wake up at the fire pit.
Okay. Interesting. He did not feel it necessary to disclose this to me.
I think you don't know enough yet.
Gotcha. Cool. So that's a handy quality of life thing. My one complaint was it just feels so final when you wrap up a loop and it does the cool thing where it plays back the entire loop for you via like in reverse, like a
flash before your eyes.
Your eyes kind of thing, which is awesome. And then I'm like, I just feel like I'm all set. That was my gameplay session, and I log off.
Meanwhile, the guy's like,
Yeah, he takes the big breath.
Yeah.
So at most, I have done 2 loops in a row.
Literally, Chris, we've talked about Indigo Prophecy before, right?
Yeah,
The David Cage game we made before Heavy Rain.
right.
You know, if you die in that game, the main character you play as, because you know how David Cage is so hung up on the fact that like video games as a storytelling mechanic. The main character Lucas will be like, if you happen to drown, he'll be like, "That's my story," and you're sort of approaching Outer Wilds as this like, "Well, I drifted away from my ship. That's my story," and I'm like, "No, beat the game, loser."
It's just, I feel so like full after one loop that I just set it down.
You watch that montage and feel all sentimental about the 22 minutes you just spent.
I feel nostalgic for 20 minutes
ago.
ago.
You gotta get back to Giants Deep and figure it out.
So I'm just finding it to be a very difficult game to binge. I've just been doing like half-hour session after half-hour session.
It's a lot to, yes. That's fair. Okay.
It's going to be a game I have to chip away at instead of rush to the conclusion.
There's a masterpiece in that marble. You just gotta...
Cool. I haven't uncovered the masterpiece yet, but everything I've seen so far is super promising.
Okay.
And that's where I'm at with Outer Wilds.
How soon did you realize how small Timber Hearth was walking around and like the shadow of day and night just passes?
Oh, because the day-night cycle is so fast.
Yeah, you'll be walking around and then suddenly like something will pass in front of the sun and it'll be like, whoa, you know, the scale is
I
freaky.
noticed that very quickly, how quickly the sun was going by. And here's maybe my biggest piece of praise, Heath. When you say games that do exploration well, what's like the first one that comes to mind?
Breath of the Wild.
There you go. Yeah. In Breath of the Wild, it does this thing where anytime you see something that is like a little landmark or something that's a little out of place, 99% of the time, it's worth investigating. Like the designers put something there to be found.
It's consequential.
And I would level that same kind of design philosophy to Outer Wilds, where anytime there's something that catches your eye, it's going to be worth checking out. They didn't put a really cool rock outcrop there, and then there's nothing of consequence there.
Is that a harmonica?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. And I guess one thing that, in case listeners are wondering, I said you're exploring an entire solar system. And I thought to myself, because before I'd played this game, isn't that like an insurmountable amount of ground to cover?
You tried to escape Did you try to escape the supernova at one point?
No. Okay. I was just wondering, like, how big are these planets? And they're not huge, but they're big. And a lot of the planet's surface area is kind of just bland and monotone. So
if you're Timber Hearth, yeah.
Yeah, but so it's clear to me which areas the game wants me to explore versus which ones are just there to populate the planet. And you need not land on this section of the moon. There's nothing there.
Right.
So it does a good job signposting the parts you should explore. And that's Outer Wilds.
All right.
I need to take a break.
And when we come back, I think that was the last thing Chris had. Oh. No, he had one more.
TV show.
He has a TV show. I don't know if my ability to sit through hours of podcasting is a testament to my endurance or sedentarity. That's not a word. Sedentariness. Because Chris will often be like, I need a break after, like an hour 20. Meanwhile, like most of the podcasts I listen to are 3-4 hours. And they don't really, I don't notice that they take breaks as often as Chris. Well, you know, who's to say? And I don't know whether or not I can be like, Chris just doesn't have my stamina. Or if I'm like, wow, Chris has enough of a metabolism to not want to sit for 3 hours. So that's where I'm at.
All right, Heath. Final thing. I brought a TV show, which I don't usually do to the show. Let me ask you this, Heath.
Have I seen it?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Now, Heath, when I say anime, your interest plummets. Is that correct?
No, I love a good anime.
Oh, yeah?
It's like as much as I love a good Comic book. Like, I'll never read a comic book.
And similarly, you'll never watch an anime, right?
Right. Yeah, wait, sorry. I'm absolutely king of the non sequiturs here. You ever see that meme that's coming around recently where it's the image of Batman and Raphael the Ninja Turtle, and Batman's speech bubble says, "This is the alley where my parents died, Raphael." And then Raphael's speech bubble is just like, "Cowabunga."
You know what? I have seen these.
Yeah.
Anyway, Heath, I'm going to try to sell you on an anime.
I mean, I watched like the first episode of Attack on Titan.
Okay.
And I couldn't get past the fact that it wasn't dubbed.
Gotcha. There's a dubbed version that exists.
Okay, well, I didn't. That's not the one that I saw.
Here's one that's only dubbed because I watched
What?
the 3 seasons of the Castlevania anime. I haven't played any of the Castlevania games. The only thing I know about Castlevania is that
It's got that Belmont.
Simon and Richter Belmont are in Smash. That's about all I know. And they've got good whips. And they fight Dracula, evidently.
Whips.
Which I can confirm happens in this show. So, Heath,
What's the difference? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. What's the difference?
No, because I met my quota for interrupting you.
Okay.
What's the difference between Alucard and
Alucard.
Yeah.
Well, Alucard is Dracula backwards.
I know.
Okay.
I know that from the Batman versus Dracula animated TV special.
Alucard is the protagonist of Symphony of the Night.
He's like the young Dracula?
He is Dracula's son.
Okay.
Half
and we
human,
like him.
Half human, half vampire son.
Okay. And we like him.
Yeah, he's cool. He's in the show. So just building your hype. How's this for a low commitment, Heath?
What anime does it look like?
Oh, yeah, aesthetically it's beautiful. It is
It's one of them JoJo's.
It looks dark fantasy. I think some of the illustration work is gorgeous. Character models are very detailed. The fight choreography in this is next level stuff. It's great. But
Ooh.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I was going to say low commitment, Heath. Season 1 of this show is 4 episodes long.
Okay.
Episodes are only 30 minutes. It's basically a 2-hour movie. And season 1 is phenomenal. I watched it a couple years ago, actually.
High praise.
It establishes the trio of heroes following, this guy's name is Trevor Belmont. He's the last of the Belmonts, this family of monster hunters that for generations protected the people until I think people had an uprising against the Belmonts. Anyway, he's the last surviving member. He teams up with, Alucard and this
Unlikeliest of allies.
and a speaker magician girl. And they have a goal to go kill Dracula. Surprise, surprise.
In the Castlevania.
Yes. And in this first season, Dracula gets established as a very nuanced antagonist who you sympathize for.
Oh.
He's going to do reprehensible things, but you almost feel like he's almost justified in it. Even though his mission...
Is the only reason he sucks blood because he's anemic?
No. I don't want to spoil things.
Sorry, his mission, you said.
Yeah, his mission is the genocide of the human race, but you almost want him to win.
Yeah, almost.
So the 4 episodes, the band gets together. They're going to fight Dracula, which brings us to season 2, which kind of lost me a little bit. Season 2 is 8 episodes, so twice as long. They expand the cast quite a bit. You learn about...
Twice as many Belmonts.
No, you see like Dracula's inner court, and there's vampire politics going on. Like I said, season 2 was the low point for me. I don't know if that's a commonly held sentiment, but it felt like it kept that clippy pace of the first season, but introduced so much that I didn't feel like anything was necessarily getting the time it was due. So season 2 ended, and I'd written the series off as not necessarily being for me anymore. I thought it was kind of like a flash in the pan. Season 1 was so good, and season 2 lost me. But season 3 arrived, longest season yet. It's 10 episodes. Still just half an hour each. And I said, what the heck? I'll give it a try. And season 3 is my new favorite, Heath.
Wow.
So end of season 2 is a pretty clean break. They're now starting some new plot threads. The cast of season 2 has been scattered to the wind. There are kind of 4 concurrent plot lines going on in season 3. And the pace has slowed much more to a crawl. Which, kind of makes it sound like, oh, is this going to be more boring? And I would say no. This is what I needed Now the show is telling me why I need to care about all the characters it introduced. It's fleshing them out. It's doing a great job. It's putting them into character interaction situations that I find very interesting.
This isn't Monster of the Week.
No, not at all. It is definitely an overarching plot with lots of continuity involved. In fact, it's so not Monster of the Week. Season 3 is basically...
It's Monster of the Year.
It's all build up with 2 phenomenal episodes of catharsis at the end. Really well done. You can see the giant gears turning for things that were being set up at the beginning of Season 3 are going to probably only pay off towards the end of Season 4. They're like... There's these 2 entities on a glacial collision path, and you're getting excited for it, even though they're just inching along. You're pretty pumped, and it rewards you along the way. I now cannot wait for more Castlevania, the show.
Wow. Okay, and I watched this on Crunchyroll.
It is a Netflix original.
Whoa.
It's funded by Netflix. I think it's only streaming there. I don't think it's actually made in Japan, but it definitely looks like an anime.
Yeah.
And it is the English voice cast, I think, is the primary way to watch it. And the voice cast is great. It doesn't feel cringy in the slightest.
Okay.
So
nobody goes...
No.
Wait, you know what I'm referencing, right? I don't even know what I'm referencing.
Is this JoJo?
No, this is just like anime. Let's see if I can get it first try. Anime. No, I couldn't get it. But that sounds like a good show. I might be interested in it.
Yeah, it doesn't waste any time investing you. Episode 1 is a self-contained, awesome episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully I've maybe convinced you enough to at least watch the first episode. And yeah, so that's everything I did this past couple of weeks. It was a lot, Heath.
Thank you for taking up the torch in my absence.
No problem. Are you still looking for the weird anime noise?
The weird anime noise? The worst part is after I show it to you, it's still going to be like, yep, that's a weird anime noise.
There won't be anything deeper to say about it.
No, there won't.
At the very least, I could say, "Oh, I hear that all the time," or "What is this? I've never heard this in my life."
There's no way you've heard about this.
There's no way I've heard about this.
Yeah, this is gonna be pretty out there.
Heath, I have heard this.
Yay! I delivered.
Only out of context, like in this clip.
Yeah. I did a good job, did I not?
That was a good callback.
Look at the chat. Go like.
It's supposed to be sobbing. All right, that was a quality meme, Heath. Good job.
I try.
This was one of the first tangents I felt like it was worth it.
Oh my god.
All right, should we take a break, Heath?
I already. Oh, yeah, we'll have to do a new transition.
Sure.
Yeah. And when we come back,
we'll have some fresh news for you. And welcome back, Heath.
Chris.
I decided to take something to heart.
What?
That email we got last week,
yeah.
The one angry, hungry hippo.
Mm-hmm.
We were just decimating his bank account with all the trips to the company cafeteria we were sending him to.
We made him ravenous.
Yes, because we kept doing our news segment, Headline Dining. Listeners, you can never say we don't listen to your feedback because we are retiring Headline Dining. It had a good 4-episode run. But that's it.
Cue like the in memoriam where it's what was it? 4 episodes?
I think so.
Yeah. That span of episodes.
So we're just gonna do news like we used to. It works.
What's our first news?
Heath, our first news. What a great news story to follow up last week's discussion. It seems like video games next generation are gonna cost $70.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So it turns out our video game prices conversation last week was super timely because this is the news story. Publisher 2K announces that next-gen copies of NBA 2K21, their basketball game, will cost $69.99, $70, as opposed to current gen versions, will remain the standard 60.
And we can only anticipate that the rest, the other, wow, what am I trying to say? That the rest of the industry will follow suit.
Yeah, that seems like the safe assumption here. It would be really weird if one basketball game was $70 and everything else was 60.
Yeah.
So and publishers are presumably frothing at the mouth to charge $70.
Get all that Charles Barkley money.
Right. At the same time, and for the same reason, I think this is equally shocking and totally expected. It's shocking because
it actually happened.
It's been 15 years that video games, AAA games, were $60. The $60 price point and AAA video game have become synonymous in my head.
Yeah.
They're like coupled together. But at the same time, for that same reason, it's totally expected. It's been 15 years, Heath. It's about time.
I basically, not made out like a bandit, but yeah, Animal Crossing should have been a $70 game.
Let's dig into that, because do you think Nintendo's going to start charging $70? Because they're not launching a new console.
Oh, they're not.
Is it now going to be Nintendo games are 60 while PlayStation and Microsoft games are 70? Or does Nintendo think they can start milking their customers with no justification?
They could. Yeah, they would be justified because as much as the rest of the industry would be justified.
Right. The same amount of time has passed.
The optics would be worse. I grant you that.
Optics would be worse.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in your gut, do you think they're going to do it?
No, because Nintendo also doesn't go on sale. Rarely.
Right.
So
much less frequently.
So they're also making money that way.
Yeah, they keep their price high.
Which would make optics even worser.
Yeah.
If they did like $70 that never goes on sale.
But as soon as the Switch successor comes out, they'll definitely hike it up to 70.
Yes.
Agreed.
So kudos to you. You basically invest in Chris when it comes to betting on the NPD, because he clearly has the pulse of the industry.
I think it was a fairly common prediction. It's just been long.
You need to double down and make like a really specific prediction.
Here's one very interesting wrinkle I'll throw into things, Heath. Have you heard of Microsoft's smart delivery system?
I feel like SMART is an acronym.
No, it's not. This is a buzzword Microsoft invented.
Okay.
They said, so they have Xbox Ones out and soon to be launching the Xbox Series X. And smart delivery is this feature unique to the Microsoft consoles that when you buy your new shiny copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla this fall and you slot it into your console, it will automatically know, depending on which console you have, which version of the game to run. I have an Xbox One right now, and I buy the Xbox One copy of AC Valhalla, and I'm playing it, and I'm having a great time. Sure, digitally, physically, whatever.
Oh, physically? Wait, you're talking about I can put in the same disc.
Yeah. And then, and Christmas arrives, and guess what? I get gifted a brand new Xbox Series X.
Wow, thank you, Santa.
If I take my Xbox One copy of Valhalla...
The disc that, yeah.
Yep, even the disc, put it into Series X. Smart delivery guarantees that I will be running the version of the game that is native to the Xbox Series X. It'll install the proper patches. It'll get the right update.
Oh,
and now it'll presumably be running at a higher resolution.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is the way PCs work. If you install Red Dead 2 on a laptop, you're probably going to get like 20 frames per second, and it's going to look like hot garbage. But you install the same game on your $5,000 rig, suddenly you can crank all the graphics settings up to ultra, and you're getting like 70 frames per second.
Okay, but where I was confused is if it's a disc. Like the same thing is spinning, but it looks twice as good, even though the disc is the exact same, because the machine is providing like the...
Saying the disc is spinning is a bit of a misnomer.
Discs spin, Chris.
They do. Starting this generation, the disc only spins to install the game. From then onward, it is basically...
From then onward, the console spins?
No.
Around the disc.
Putting the disc in the future, once it's installed to your hard drive, it's just a proof of purchase check.
Oh, and then it runs...
It's not running off the disc. It's running off your hard drive.
Gotcha. This is news to me.
Yeah, that started in 2013.
Oh, this is news to me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Wow. Wait a second. This has been the case since we graduated high school.
Yes, it
what
has.
What the I had no idea. Why didn't anybody tell me?
It's just there to install the game initially.
Why does it sound so loud though? Still,
just the cooling.
It's
It's a hot boy.
It's a hot
So, Heath.
Are you telling me
Yes.
that somewhere in the midpoint of my AP American exam, someone could have whispered, "By the way, it only spins when you install it." Like this information is pre-Bailey.
The Xbox 360 gave you the option to install from disk, which I would always do. So even on the Xbox 360,
okay.
it could run off the disk, but you could also opt into having it run off the hard drive, which I would always do because I didn't want to wear out the disk.
Oh, okay.
So this is technically like 2005 technology we're talking about, Heath. The launch of the 360.
Dude, now that you mention it, you said the 360 was capable of doing this?
It had the option to. It didn't by default.
I was at a slumber party at Jason's house.
Uh-huh.
And I'll bleep out his last name to not like dox him.
Yeah, okay.
And this we were playing Call of Duty Zombies.
On 360.
Yeah, and I had my 360 and it was in the upright position.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, Jason wanted to reposition it.
Oh.
So he put it horizontal. And I went like, "No, don't," because of course, with the disc running, and we heard an audible scratch when he flipped it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like looking around, but the game is still running. And I was like, "Well, we better enjoy it." So we finished playing.
Yeah.
And then we were like, "Okay, let's just see." We turned off the console, took out the disc, saw the scratch, tried running it again. It ran, but like the color palette was all wrong.
Oh, no.
Not X-ray negative, but it was like weirdly dark and high, super weird contrast.
I see.
I think I made him foot the bill for the replacement disc, but
So
now
that could have potentially been avoided.
could have been avoided.
Although it's still not a good idea to move a running
hardware.
The hard drive disk you install the game to still has moving parts in it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to move that.
Right.
All right, we got on a weird tangent there. What I was going to say, Heath, smart delivery. Back to the point. Hey, if the next gen copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla is $70 and the current gen version is $60, but your Xbox Smart Delivery $60 copy will just run the correct version native to your Xbox Series X, you just buy the last gen version and save $10.
You could save $10.
So that potentially the Smart Delivery feature initiative Microsoft is pushing could render this price hike irrelevant for Microsoft players, Xbox players.
It sounds like it, yeah.
So there's a news article. The headline is Microsoft reportedly against publishers charging for Xbox Series X upgrades. So for upgrading your game to the next gen version, they say it should be free because that's the whole. Without it being free, smart delivery can't exist because then you're paying for it. So it kind of seems like this is in the publisher's hands. Microsoft can't force people to play along with it. Not every game has been confirmed to use smart delivery.
Oh, okay.
The confirmed ones include Assassin's Creed Valhalla is confirmed, Halo Infinite, and Cyberpunk 2077, among others. But it seems like a lot of publishers aren't going to play nice with this feature because they don't have any incentive to.
Right, because the publishers want to make money.
They want to make the money.
So they're going to hike it to $70.
Plus, if this was ubiquitous and you could like circumvent the $10 this way, imagine how pissed PlayStation players would be because there is no smart delivery on the PS5.
So all of your PS5 owners are paying $70
to get what the Xbox players get for $60, which is crazy. And then the last just angle I wanted to examine this from is Game Pass and video game subscription services, because presumably that value proposition just got better. If purchasing games a la carte is now $10 more, but your Xbox Game Pass subscription stays the same price, which we don't know for sure if that's going to be the case. Maybe more people hop on.
Yeah.
Because Xbox Game Pass, you pay a monthly fee to get unlimited access to a large catalog of games.
And it's more lucrative in the long run.
Maybe. I guess
it has to be.
Otherwise, companies wouldn't be pushing it. So, yeah, maybe more people migrate over to the Xbox Game Pass side. Who can say?
Very interesting.
That was very interesting. So games will probably cost $70 going forward.
Okay. I'm not angry.
I'm equally not angry. Shall we go to the next story, Heath?
Yep. Next, you're passing me the baton?
Yes.
Okay. Folks, when I say Devolver, you most likely think of the indie game developer / publisher who is behind the likes of Enter the Gungeon and Ape Out and not Super Hot, but like those types of games.
Sure. Well-regarded indie games. Yeah.
So in other words, not like industry defining, like Nintendo is the same thing. They're a video game developer / publisher.
Sure.
That moves mountains when it comes to games. Devolver is like the Harlem Globetrotters.
The who now?
The Harlem Globetrotters.
I don't know them.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the things I don't know.
Harlem Globetrotters are like this basketball team that doesn't really play basketball. I mean, sometimes they do, but for the most part, they're like a circus act in which they come on the court and they do like spin the ball on your finger tricks to the nth degree.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
And it's all these like super fun, and they're wildly popular because it's like fun for all ages and across all languages and whatever. Yeah, so it's basically just like a really nice halftime. They're a prolific basketball entertainment act, but they're not out here winning basketball games like Nintendo.
Sure.
So Devolver is like this super fun company that might not come out with the best games,
but they're beating to their own drum.
Yes. So enter the Devolver Direct, which is their would-be E3 online presentations, in which they have gone the extra mile in what I would call market consumer memes. Because there's always the joke about, as video game players, our job is to consume product and get hyped for next product.
Uh-huh.
Are you not a fan of these Devolver Directs?
Personally, I have not watched a full Devolver Direct.
Okay, but you know what their conceit is.
I know they have a reputation for being goofy and avant-garde.
Yeah, didn't I mention last time during one Devolver Direct they launched their own like cryptocurrency, which would fluctuate?
Oh,
yeah, look at this.
This is from the 2018
I jumped
press conference.
to it just serendipitously.
Yeah.
And there would be, who is like the funny Sony spokesperson that I liked a lot? Kevin something?
Yeah, I don't know his name.
But you know who I'm talking about.
I think so,
Whatever.
yeah.
I love cult of personality video game people.
Figureheads, yeah.
Reggie Fils-Aimé, Jeff Keighley. I love these people. Phil Spencer, even though he showed up in this Devolver Direct. So Devolver Direct 2020, their gag this time around was Nintendo. We straight up just rip off Nintendo's art style.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So they made it
looks like a Direct.
They absolutely made it look like that, and then they highlight all of the continuing storyline. All of their directs, which are merely just like, here are the video games that we will be publishing in the following months, are they all have a storyline.
Is this a continuing storyline year to year?
Yes.
Oh.
For the people who are listening, think like Eric Andre. Yeah. And reacting to the host in previous directs would be like this stock footage crowd, like cheering and eating popcorn and looking happy.
This presentation looks to me to be similar in tone to like the performance of actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, you're getting
because
it now.
it's like gory, but delivered very sincerely, and there's this undertone of goofiness to it, but they're not acknowledging the goofiness.
Right. And then they made the joke that video game players don't really care about the games themselves. They only care about the hype that surrounds the product. They're only looking for that next big hit of hype.
That's probably true in some cases.
So she's talking to her IT guy to like queue up video games that don't exist, but would generate enough hype and therefore merit talking about during this presentation.
Yeah.
One of these fake games that they announced was Getting Under It with Bennett Foddy.
Okay.
Or Getting Down with Bennett Foddy. Yeah. Getting Down with Bennett Foddy. A sensual rhythm game.
Will this into existence on Discord?
Yeah. It's like... It's very my sense of humor of like consume product, you consumer lemming.
Oh, this is far more entertaining than I thought it would be.
You haven't seen the last of it. There's Sonic Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Like the most unlikeliest of commentators.
I'm not doing a bathtub scene for some
man.
digital showcase. End of story. I'm not getting memed again. Yen, did you leave the megascope on again? Yeah, no, it's definitely working. How do I turn this bloody thing off? Turn the switch. Where is it? Damn it.
They do a Witcher cameo.
Hashtag Geralt Tub.
And then, okay, are you familiar with my uncle who works at Nintendo?
Yes.
Okay.
Audience at home, my uncle that works at Nintendo.
Hey, yo, thanks for having me or whatever. Look, let me get one thing out of the way first.
Yeah, so explain my uncle who works at Nintendo. It's just this gag that kids would be like,
on playgrounds, pre-internet, or maybe even post-internet.
here's
I don't
how
know.
I know the next thing coming to Mario.
Or here's how I know this cool Easter egg in Super Mario 3.
Because my
uncle who works at
you
Nintendo,
wouldn't believe.
he told me the trade secrets.
So they meme that really well, and it's so cringe though.
But that's probably what they were going for.
And then last but not least, they produced a game, which is a virtual trade show in which you can play through a walking simulator version of E3.
Oh.
It's like a next level fourth wall games industry commentary. This is a game they made.
I see.
T-shirt guns. And you play the game to find unannounced games that they're coming out with.
Oh, and there's like
Yeah.
an exhibit. There's exhibits for real games.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like Weird West. And does this actually exist?
Yes, you can play this.
Is it free?
Yes,
Where do I get it?
it's on Steam.
Dang.
You might be interested in this.
This is so meta.
And when you complete when you find like hidden games, it's like marketing objective completed.
Why don't they do this instead of E3 every year?
Oh, I don't know, because it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah,
it's super creative. Devolver Land Expo is the name of the game. And I
Heath,
watched somebody play it.
You've blown my mind.
So here's the thing, right? What's your favorite Devolver game? Nothing really comes to mind other than Enter the Gungeon and those types. But they go the extra mile every year when it comes to these.
I'll say
Consume more marketing.
on Discord.
Marketing sim. Yeah.
Oh, they're so self-aware.
And they have a fun Sonic-style song at the end.
Devolver has the best game presentation.
They go next level. And then they do like a bunch of behind the scenes. And everybody's wearing masks. And it's like, this is how we made it. And it's like super uplifting too. And then more Geralt Tub. Anyway, so you would have missed out on the Geralt cameo in which he explains how he's not doing
The cameo.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you were like, oh, aren't you going to talk about the Ubisoft Direct? And I was like, wait. Granted, and that's a good segue.
Yes.
Granted, Ubisoft has objectively better games.
But the presentation of which made me snooze.
Couldn't care. It's all just like this globalist, like we achieve community. Aren't you excited for mobile Tom Clancy 6? And I'm like, what? Even though I was kind of looking forward to that Splinter Cell thing,
which did not get announced. Correct?
No, I saw it.
There's a new Splinter Cell?
There's like a mobile Splinter
Oh.
Cell. And that got me thinking, wouldn't it be fun if there was like a Smash Ultimate for stealth game protagonists and you had Corvo,
Sam Fisher from
Hitman,
Corvo, yeah.
Hitman, and then a Spy from Team Fortress 2.
Solid Snake.
Yeah, even though he's already there though. He's spoken for.
Yeah.
You just have all these stealth people. And then you have like a fun stealth game. I want it to happen.
Is the objective still to smash off the screen or just to not be found?
No, it's sort of not. I didn't imagine it as like a co-op Hitman, but I feel like the longer you go without being noticed, the higher you score.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of like a very small battle royale stealth multiplayer game.
Almost sounds like early Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
You absolutely know where my
I
heart is.
traced that through line.
Yeah.
You could put Ezio in that.
Yeah, Devolver Direct, I entertained the whole way through. Ubisoft.
The Ubisoft Forward.
Okay. What did you want to talk about?
Oh, after seeing Devolver, not much. But
I do want to mention Far Cry.
Far Cry 6.
Because Far Cry is... They always have like the coolest premises.
Yeah.
They are all flavor and no nutrition.
Okay. This is coming from someone, correct me if I'm wrong, who's never played Far Cry, correct?
I've never played... Have you played Far Cry?
Yeah, I've played 3 of them.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. 3, 4, and Blood Dragon.
Yeah. Okay.
And, when I first got that Far Cry taste, I loved it. But then I got burnt out really fast because at least for those entries, 3 and 4 were super similar.
Right. It was the definition of insanity.
Yes.
And then
up
you
in
go
the,
to Asia.
Up in the Himalayas.
Yeah. Which is like, they always have cool premises.
And they try to have really cool villains, starting with 3, which had Voss. Definition of Insanity Guy. And they've never been able to recapture his energy.
Until
maybe.
This one.
Go for it. Who is the villain?
Breaking Bad man.
Yes. What's his actual name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Let's look it up.
Yeah, I nailed it. I know the actors.
And he's a great actor.
Yeah, he was from Do the Right Thing, which is a Spike Lee movie.
Okay. I only know him from Breaking Bad.
Also Baking Bad.
So he is like a dictator in Far Cry 6.
Yeah.
It seems like the setting is this.
He plays like Tropico Man.
Yeah, he basically plays like that Tropico, Central America, South America dictator figure.
Very Menendez.
Yeah.
From Call of Duty.
I'm going to nod my head.
You never played Black Ops 2?
I did not.
Okay. It wasn't the worst thing.
Okay. So they announced that it's coming out in February of next year.
I'll never play a Far Cry game.
No? Open world first-person shooter doesn't appeal to you?
Unless it really performs well.
Ooh, with the homogenization of a lot of Ubisoft games, if you didn't like AC Odyssey, maybe you wouldn't like Far Cry.
I just feel like the premise is so cool, but Far Cry has always been like a 65 in Metacritic in my mind. In my mind.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Some may say that's even more valid than the real Metacritic.
Wow.
So they also gave the release date for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think it's November 17th.
Okay. Did you watch that trailer?
Yeah, I watched a good amount of it.
How much of my bingo card is validated?
I definitely saw Stonehenge.
All right.
But
all right. A conspicuous bird nest at the very top of it.
Perhaps. It looks cool. I'm still pretty bummed they're bringing it only to the Epic Games Store on PC and Uplay, so not Steam. Gonna try to wait it out and see if they transfer it over.
Remind the fans why you hate Phil Fish. That's his name, right?
Who?
Phil Fish.
Phil Fish, the developer of Fez.
Sorry.
We've also name dropped Phil Fish being one of the head executives of Sony.
Sony. Who's
Tim Sweeney.
Tim Sweeney?
One of the head honcho at Epic Games.
Yeah. Why do you hate him again? Or no, you just prefer Steam for its
robust,
bells and whistles.
Its robust feature suite, its commitment to protecting its customers' privacy.
You know, when I went to steal your playtime
Yes.
in your profile, I got to see your exuberant background and
Yes.
moving picture profile.
Yeah, my Steam profile is
highlights.
blinged out currently.
It is.
Can't do that on the Epic Game Store. The ultimate diss to the Epic Game Store is it launched, and for the first 4 months of its existence, Heath, it didn't have a search bar. What kind of storefront can you not search for the game you want to buy? It was that feature incomplete.
I mean,
it was that rushed out the door.
You can browse categorically by genre, you know?
It didn't have a search bar, Heath.
Neither does like Forever 21, but that doesn't stop it from being like a shopping
If we
spree.
go to forever21.com, they have a search bar.
I'm not talking about
We're talking about buying things digitally here, Heath.
Uh-huh.
Never mind. We don't need to go down that
When
rabbit
we
hole
launch
again.
our Mobius Tubes merch digital storefront, I hope it's just a huge search bar.
Huge search bar.
And there's like tiny PNGs around it. And you'll be like, I don't understand. Why isn't our merch performing well this quarter? And I'm like, well, maybe the search bar is too big. And
No.
you'll be like, lies.
The website is clearly optimized. We
got a-
max minned into search bar.
Chris, we don't have a shopping cart yet, but it's got a search bar though.
They also gave a release date for Watch Dogs Legion. It's coming out in late October.
Yeah, the main antagonist for 2020 is just fascists.
Oh, okay.
Far Cry had the big like fascista, and then Watch Dogs is anti-fascist.
And this is the game that will let
Valhalla is fighting the King of England, who is like
you... Alfred.
a early fascist, a proto-fascist.
It's definitely auth-right, being a monarch.
Uh-huh.
And then Watch Dogs Legion, the kind of gimmick is you can assemble a team of 40 people to be in your Watch Dogs gang hacker group.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be like anyone.
Pedestrians.
Yeah. So that was really all I had to say about the Ubisoft Forward, except they're also launching, I think it's a Battle Royale game, but they let people on Twitch in real time vote on certain criteria that will affect the match. So, like, if the option comes up, do you want zero gravity or wacky balloons everywhere? And Twitch viewers vote on it, and then whatever gets the majority vote occurs in the game the stream.
That's cool. You know what game did that first?
What?
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells.
Yeah, Dead Cells had Twitch integration that, depending on the loot drops and where this door would lead.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know what else had Twitch integration? Twitch plays Pokemon.
Wow, that's not what I meant. I guess it is. But
Remember that?
That's Twitch plays Pokemon.
Those were like the dark ages of Twitch.
Was it really? I feel like I wasn't.
By
I
dark
came
ages,
into Twitch late.
By dark ages, I just mean a long time ago.
I mean, like that. By dark ages, you know, like r/place is like the dark ages in my mind.
Okay.
When Reddit did that pixel art thing,
Oh,
where you could add a pixel and then everybody
Yes.
was just like fighting for land.
that was an April Fool's joke.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
That's like the dark age. Like everything has their dark age.
Shall we move on to the next news story?
What's
Heath?
the next news story?
I thought you wanted to talk about like GMTK's Game Jam.
Oh yeah. Well, that would have been my immediate idea. Was we know some games, and had I not been so busy with the thing, I would have been like, let's record an episode during the Game Jam when the heat is on. Do you know what the prompt was?
Yes. So this is Game Maker's Toolkit, a sponsored Game Jam.
It's an
48-hour
48-hour contest.
period of time where people have 2 days to crunch and make a game according to a certain theme or criteria. This year's theme...
This is typically done for like 48-hour film fests.
Yeah. This is the game equivalent of that. This year's theme was Out of Control.
That's what I thought it was.
So you can interpret that any way you wish, but your game has to relate to being out of control. Cool fact is they got over 5,400 submissions this year, which
making it the largest.
it's the
game
largest.
jam?
It's bigger than the past 3 years combined.
Well done.
So participation skyrocketed. I don't know if that has anything to do with people just had more time on their hands being stuck at
oh
home.
my gosh. Oh my God, you're right.
Which gave them all the time in the world to participate, which is a silver lining, I suppose. But yeah, I'm glad to see it was so successful this year, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
My hopes for this bit were that the prompt would be a little wackier, but Out of Control seems like a perfectly innocuous game progenitor
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, just make it like Octodad movement.
It could really be. You could almost justify anything.
It was too broad. I was hoping it was going to be like, what are some game jam prompts that you're familiar with in the past? Oh, what was the prompt that inspired Baba Is You? The creator of Baba Is You is inspired by the game jam prompt Not
there.
which is also super broad. Anyway,
Yeah.
this like hopefully you were entertained by the thought of maybe doing a podcast bit in which we hash out what we would do for Out of Control. Like I said, I would probably just make it like crazy movement mechanics.
Or like certain rules in the game that are constantly changing.
Yeah, like gravity's all over the joint.
Cool. All right. So that was this week in news.
Wait, isn't there one more?
I think that's all we've got. No need to check.
Oh my God, why are you always hitting the ejector seat once we hit the 90-minute mark? I was going to talk about Dr. Disrespect.
Oh.
Because
All right,
that
an
is
update.
still shrouded in mystery.
But not from the streamer Shroud.
Very good. No, it's not. Shroud is staying out of it. And a lot of people are staying out of it.
So,
A suspicious amount, which might... I don't want to be speculation, Steve, but there's a chance... Because he had an affair, which is why he got not suspended, but he stepped away for a while. And there's suspicion that his permaban is related to the affair. Because Twitch staff have always been a suspicious lot.
oh,
Like, if we can get into the nitty-gritty here. You know the Twitch streamer Alinity?
no.
The community is under the impression that she gets preferential treatment because she's a sexy lady. And despite breaking many TOS rules in the past, she has received no such ban. And there's the sense that the confluence of Mixer going away and Twitch wanting to save money, so they ban Dr. Disrespect.
Wait, how could the banning of Dr. Disrespect save Twitch money?
It voids the contract if he violates their terms of service.
He's in a contract with Twitch?
Yeah, they paid him big money.
Oh, okay.
And
I
yeah.
did not know that.
But then there's speculation that his permanent ban had to do with like Me Too stuff.
Yes, because this is something we haven't touched on, but the video game industry has been ravaged with sexual misconduct allegations.
The Super Smash Bros. Players.
Yes, they got hit.
With
A lot of Ubisoft
pedophilia
people
stuff.
have been hit.
Uh-huh.
He could be wrapped up in that, maybe. We don't
Yeah.
know.
So we don't know. Although there was an equal amount of speculation that, he's coming to YouTube. So we'll have to see. I still have nothing, and it worries me that I have nothing. I hope it works out. So that's all I had to say on that. And
All right.
now we're done with news.
Now we're done with news. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back with we could say a divisive conversation topic.
Ooh.
See you then.
$2.22. Yes. You know when I adapt Mobius Tube's The Stage Play, I'm going to have a very meta intermission where like the audience also gets a break, but the actor who's playing me just sits in his chair and just watches the actor that's playing you still on stage. Curtain didn't go away. Eating nuts, getting water. Hi, Mr. Cottengum. That's a nice song. and then the house lights will signal that the play is about to start again as you like put on your headphones, and then act 2 of the play will start.
Very meta indeed.
That was funnier in my head. We're back.
We're back. All right, Heath. Here's a conversation topic for us. Let's air our dirty laundry this episode. Let's talk about gaming opinions we have that are either unpopular or controversial.
Yeah.
These are things you think about maybe a specific game or video games broadly that aren't commonly held thoughts or like even go against the status quo. And I asked you to think of, 2 to 4 such controversial gaming opinions that we could share on the podcast and get blasted for whenever this gets grabbed out of context somewhere.
Right.
So with that said, I managed to think of 3 of my own. Have you done any brainstorming?
I only thought of one.
Okay.
My mind is racing though. I'm sure once you say one, I'll get the.
Okay. You
I'll be on
want
the
me
right
to take
track.
the lead here?
If you wouldn't mind, yeah.
Sure. All right. Chris's first controversial gaming opinion.
Controversial opinion. Clutch your pearls.
Hey, when we talk about...
Hey, I like the... Let me tell you something. Like very like Alex Jones, disc jockey. Like, listen here, America. I'm done with bonfires.
Let me set you all straight. So
Yeah.
when we talk about the best video game stories...
Outer what? Oh, sorry. Stories.
Yeah.
I said Transistor at one point.
Yeah, you did, which was an interesting pull.
It's not a story. I'm... No.
When we talk about, look at how far we've come as a medium, look at the stories we can tell now.
Nathan Drake.
Some examples that get cited are, Uncharted, or
Journey.
Red Dead Redemption 2,
Okay.
or The Last of Us,
Yes.
or the most recent God of War reboot.
Yes.
We talk about their cinematic excellence and, so moving, so emotional, what excellent acting. Here's my controversial opinion, Heath. When we point to examples of the narrative potential of video games as a medium, I think these are the last games we should be pointing to. You look quizzical. And
So, are you pulling an Ian Bogost?
From the article we mentioned on like episode 14?
Yeah, it was from a while ago, but I follow him on Twitter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Interesting. No. Here's the weird analogy I'm going to use to prove my point. What's like a universally acclaimed book that people love for
Don
its story?
Quixote.
Don Quixote?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's among the best selling.
And people like love the story.
I mean, it's a very old book. It's way older than like Monte Cristo. It's the Windmill book.
The Windmill.
It was published when like 1605 was the.
When I ask you for like a great universally beloved book,
No, this is
is where you go.
Super popular. So it was written like ages ago. Like, sorry, I should actually get the date right. Yeah, it was published in 2 parts in 1605 and 1615 by Miguel de Cervantes.
And it's a founding work of Western literature.
It is often labeled the first modern novel and considered one of the best literary works ever written.
Okay, so insert this book, your favorite novel, any work of literature that you love. Insert that here. Let's say
Beloved.
Beloved? Oh,
That's by Toni Morrison.
Yeah. Or I'm going to use The Great Gatsby as my example.
Sure.
Let's say you take a universally beloved book, slap it on a table, grab a camera, and then you point it at the book and go page by page, flipping through it. It takes hours, and you leave adequate time for a viewer to be able to read each page as you flip through. And then you go cover to cover, you close the book, and that is the end of the film.
And yeah, you stop recording.
You hit stop.
And you
have
show this.
Unquestionably made a film, and unquestionably an excellent story was told. But you leveraged nothing about the medium of film to make the story compelling. There was nothing, no engaging camera angles, no performances from actors, no soundtrack involved, no costume design, set design. Nothing about the medium of film was utilized whatsoever to make the fact that the story was told and it was a compelling story.
Had nothing to do with the elements of the presentation.
Exactly. And that is the criticism I am going to level here in my controversial opinion at Red Dead Redemption 2, at The Last of Us, where when the big story beats, when the twists are delivered in a cutscene, which is essentially just an animated movie, everything that makes that story development land and work is merely because of the strength of film as a medium. You're using interstitial components of film to advance the plot. Okay, and in between each of those, there's a run and gun combat section before you get to the next big plot development, which is another cutscene, a movie. And you can take it to the extreme examples with a game like Quantum Break, where in between set gameplay segments, they actually made a TV show,
like a live
action TV show that they just cram episodes in between levels and show you that to advance the plot.
So I'm sorry, you're critical of this.
Yes, so I'm saying, while it is unquestionable, this
God
great
of War, Red Dead, those are all great games.
These are great video games that tell great stories. We should not point to them as the pinnacle of the video game storytelling achievement. We should not look at them as the potential of the medium.
Because
Instead,
that would leverage too much praise on this cinematic quality.
Right. We're basically praising the aspects of film that make film a compelling storytelling medium. We're not talking about what makes games a compelling storytelling medium. And partially that's because we haven't really mastered it yet. I brought some examples of games we should point to instead that more adequately demonstrate the potential of game storytelling.
We talked about one of them for an hour.
Oh, Disco Elysium.
Was that not?
I mean, you could totally
What's on
make
your
it better.
list?
I have a sliding spectrum here, where I think here's one that's just one step better than those, where I look to a game like BioShock, where, yeah, here's a huge criticism with BioShock's story. The main plot twist, the thing everyone knows about BioShock, is delivered to you in a cutscene. So yeah, that's
that it's underwater?
No, the a man chooses, a slave obeys.
I'm not following.
Will you kindly listen to me speak?
I'm not familiar.
Do you not know the twist of BioShock?
I guess I don't.
Okay.
Thought the fact that it's underwater.
Okay. Well, the point is,
I should play BioShock.
the point is you should play BioShock. Also, thematically, the twist is directly involving a theme of free will and player agency. Two themes that resonate a lot more considering you had just played through it yourself.
You're the button basher.
So that's not necessarily a solution, though, to the problem, because then I would just be advocating for every game to tackle themes of player agency and freedom of choice.
What side of the spectrum is that one?
That was just one step better than The Last of Us, let's say.
Right.
Because thematically...
on account of its execution of the game-playing medium.
Yes, the game's message and theme resonate a lot more because you had played through it.
Yeah. Get Edith Finch in there.
Yeah, Edith Finch would slot in there just as well.
Bada bing.
The opposite end of the spectrum, the stories only a game could tell, are stories that are born of systems. These are systemic games. Two examples came to mind that I found pretty promising. One, you can find a whole litany of examples on episode 15 of this very show, where I told you about my experience with Middle-earth: Shadow of War.
Oh, yeah.
A game with basically a procedurally generated cast of characters. And this is part of the Middle-earth: Shadow of franchise, which started with Shadow of Mordor. But in one single iteration, from Shadow of Mordor to Shadow of War, the sequel, this Nemesis system, which it's a very mechanical systems-driven gameplay incorporation that
has since been lifted and put into many games.
Has not.
What are you talking about? Assassin's Creed
is the only example, and it's a super watered-down version of it.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, so this hasn't taken off like I thought it would when this game first came out in 2014. But anyway, in that one iteration, from Shadow of Mordor to Shadow of War, the system improved so much. These rivalries I built up with randomly generated characters whose behavior was not at all authored. No one wrote a script about, I'm making up the names here, but
someone who...
Ooga Booga, the Bloodletter.
Ooga Booga.
No one authored this character and described what he would do to me on my hero's journey. But
rebound in your efforts to shame him.
Yes. Check out that episode 15 of Mobius Tubes, where there's like 3 awesome examples of whole narrative arcs that emerge purely from the systems. That's remarkable. The granddaddy of systems-driven narrative games, I would probably point to a very esoteric example, Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress, for the uninitiated.
That's a Game Maker's Toolkit.
Does he do a video on it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm mostly familiar with it from the No Clip documentary on it.
Oh.
Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, Game Maker's No Clip. Yeah.
Yeah, No Clip, a YouTube channel. Where
What's Brendan who?
Danny O'Dwyer.
Danny O'Dwyer.
He interviews one of the main developers who makes Dwarf Fortress, a game that has been
Dwarf Fortress
iterated on since 2006.
It looks like ASCII garbage.
It looks like ASCII art.
But that affords it the opportunity, because there is little to no presentation. They can do fun things where the cats can get drunk because the dwarves spill beer in the bar, causing the cats to die of alcohol poisoning
Because they absorb the beer
through their
into
eyes.
into the fur on their paws.
Uh-huh.
And when they went to go groom themselves,
They would lick their paws, and he neglected to account for the blood alcohol content
of the cat, which was much smaller than the dwarf. So relatively little alcohol became lethal for the cat, and they would die en masse.
And so players are like, why are there so many dead cats in my bar?
And like, that's a crazy story, that your bar is littered with dead cat corpses, and it's all born of the systems.
You never could have foreseen.
Right. In this interview with the main developer in this No Clip documentary, he talks about how a significant portion of the people who contribute to the game's development on his Patreon page, they financially contribute for him to continue developing it. They've never played the game, but they're so invested in the narrative YouTube channels that have sprung up around Dwarf Fortress, where content creators on YouTube just detail their incredible exploits in Dwarf Fortress. This game, like you said, it's as far away from The Last of Us as possible, which is The Last of Us.
Yeah, you're right. That's
is
off the spectrum.
Photorealistic. They're trying to tell the cinematic story. This looks like garbage.
It's like terminal.
But because it is so visually rudimentary, they can iterate on these systems so quickly because there's so little visual
you just see it a
to do.
slash to a parentheses, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like a storytelling engine. It just keeps cranking out weird occurrences and events that entertain people for years. And nothing else could do that.
I will not. Dwarf Fortress has a fundamental grip on the power of procedural entertainment that will never be beat.
Potentially. Although, it'll be interesting because I'm curious to see if we can get better as like humans at setting up systems that are more likely to lead to compelling narratives. Like, is that a skill we can get better ourselves at? Or is it just all RNG, random number generator? Something cool might happen, but you could also play a game for 100 hours and nothing of consequence ever happens.
Well, that's when you machine learn it to be like, this is a good game, this is a bad game, where nothing happens.
I see.
So, of course, yeah.
Right. As the technology improves, as machine learning becomes more sophisticated, maybe we find a way to make systemic
write more games like this.
Systemic games can more regularly pump out. Here's a question. Can a systemic game ever pump out a narrative that will receive the praise of the story of The Last of Us?
No. Procedurally generated games like Dwarf Fortress and elements of the Shadow of stuff, that it'll die in the uncanny valley.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why you need like writers.
Because like some of these stories, who do you even attribute as the creator?
Well, you attribute it
is
to
it the machine? Is it the person
the programmer?
who wrote the systems?
Yeah, who
is
wrote
it the player whose active involvement was necessary to like draw this narrative out of the systems?
Oh.
It's like this combination. At least I think it is. All right, so that was controversial take number 1 for Chris.
Wow.
Red Dead Redemption 2, Last of Us.
The TLDR is
TLDR.
would-be cinematic masterpieces in gaming are a overrated. They are not landmarks of the genre.
Yes, they're not landmarks of the genre, of the medium.
The platform of
They
gaming.
are a great story that just so happened to be told in a video game.
Yeah, they just so happen to have that Hollywood polish.
Right. It was good because it leveraged cinematic storytelling.
Yeah. That is unpopular. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
All right, follow that one up, Heath.
Follow that one up. I was just gonna say, like, I like combat.
Okay.
I like headshots.
Gotcha.
Is that unpopular? I mean, it's unpopular to you.
Yes, but if we look at video game sales, I think it's pretty popular.
Okay, well, let me say this. I dislike Assassin's Creed pivot to more Dark Souls-y combat, right?
Okay.
Because that was my main that was one of my main qualms with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, is to fight, I gotta lock on, do a Spartan kick, and then do these enemies and not just mash the face buttons.
And which part of that do you dislike?
The game of chess.
You don't like the game of chess.
I don't care for Dark Souls. What's the phrase? It's called wait and bait.
Sword and board.
Yeah.
Wait and bait. Sword and board.
Sword and board. Board being B-O-R-E-D.
The shield you're carrying.
No, B-O-R-E-D.
Oh.
I'm bored.
You're bored.
Yeah.
I see.
As opposed to the other video game combat where it's like Batman Arkham, press X to be amazing superhero flying punch batarang.
This is a hot take. You're saying the button mashers are superior to the deliberate combat of the From Software games?
Ghost of Tsushima looks great. I probably would be so turned off by the, like, maybe, like, here's the thing, right? For Honor looks good, and I can understand why if you learn that footsie and that rock, paper, scissors of, like, quick attack, heavy attack, medium attack, that could be fun in a PvP standpoint. But I could not bother trying to escape Undead Asylum or whatever it's called and like do this, what do I call it? Dark Souls combat. I grew up with
the button mashing
the
variety?
Batman X to attack, Y to counter,
Right.
BBA to cape stun, run up the riot shield.
To put it succinctly, it's more arcadey.
I guess so. I guess I prefer that.
And I would describe it as being more shallow.
I get, yeah, definitely, surely. The system itself is limited to.
Now, is this hot take that I, Heath, prefer the more button mashy combat games, or is this hot take the button mashy combat games are a superior design philosophy?
No, surely it's not. I'd be hard. How could I argue that?
Right.
It's a superior to
because this is a garbage opinion of yours.
I prefer it, and I really am averse to the combat styles that I have experienced in Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Now, you've never picked up a controller on a Dark Souls game, have you?
I touched it once.
Oh, okay.
I played from Asylum Demon to the bridge guy.
That's more than me.
Yeah.
Although I played Bloodborne, not Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And yet you think Bloodborne's cool, though.
Oh, it's amazing. I watched the whole thing.
You just don't want to play it.
No, I'm not going to touch it.
Got it. You're a weird person, Heath.
I'm a parasocial. What like the 6 models of toddler play, remember? I'm the pink shirt guy that watches and it has the time of his life. So that's my hot take number 1. I much prefer just rudimentary combat schemes.
Okay. There's a joy to be had in a simpler system, sure. I'm not always in the mood for something as focus demanding as a From Software combat game.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, get good. Well, no, I will sink lots of time into like fun stealth encounters and certain puzzles that require maximum efficiency. I'll do the legwork in certain games, but when it comes to sword play and maybe like Devil May Cry, I probably like wouldn't bother with getting S rank. Or no, I would want to get S rank.
Heath,
Anyway,
I have a proposition.
yes.
What if we do a part 2 to our controversial gaming opinions on a future episode?
Okay.
And we table it.
Why?
Because
Because I didn't have enough of
no,
stake
just
in
because
the game?
it's past my bedtime.
What?
And also, we have a lengthy episode as
tomorrow.
it is. Yes.
Oh, you do.
Today's Tuesday.
Dates lost all meeting back in March.
But Sunday was probably fried into your brain.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we'll have episode 45 next time. Maybe we'll pick it up then. Maybe we'll push it out a week.
We should keep them sequential.
Sequential. Okay, deal. But do we push Mobius Tunes out a week then?
No, we can fit all this in.
Then we also have to address your publisher draft.
Oh yeah.
We've got
Do
so
we have
much.
to- wait, is next episode like the quarter?
The quarter is
Or
already.
no, it's after. It's Microsoft.
That'll happen on July 23rd.
Okay.
We've just got so much content, Heath.
Yeah,
This
we do.
podcast makes itself. Please send us your emails because we haven't had one of those in a little while. You can write to us at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's MobiusTubesPodcast@gmail.com. Hey, write in if you watch the YouTubes, the Mobius Tubes YouTube channel.
Or write in and
Chris
tell
and-
us that you don't because we care about that info as well.
Chris and I were trying to get some listener statistics, essentially, in the form of, does anyone use the YouTube or is it mostly the Spotifys and the Apples?
Our traffic on Spotify and Apple is significantly higher. I can tell you that right now. Yeah, please write to us, and I'm looking forward to next episode.
Me too.
See you later, Heath.
Bye.
Bye.